Okay, today I just wanted to run you through how to change an image to black and white, and also to have one particular section of it in colour. So what I'm going to do to start with is to open up this one image of a hot air balloon into Photoshop. So very simply, to make an image black and white, it's actually very easy. You go across to Adjustments, and all you would need to do is to click on that one there. When you mouse over it, it will tell you down here what you need to, what each of those adjustments do. So that's the black and white one there. But just before I click on that, if you have a look down here, you've got one layer and no masks. If I click on black and white, you'll see down here I've got this other mask called black and white. So the image has changed to black and white, but I've got the original sitting right behind it. So if I go back onto the black and white one, so you'll see by the little white surround around that black and white window there that that's the active one. Now on the left hand side you've got this little two-headed arrow with a 90-degree bend, and there's a black and white thing there. If I click on that, it will choose to be white on black. Click again, it's going to be black on white. Black on white is what I want to show you to start with. And we're going to use the paintbrush. So at the moment my paintbrush is that size there. If I click on it and start dragging across, it's going to start removing some of that black and white and making the image colour again. So what I want to do is just do the balloon. So we'll just undo that. So Control Z, quick way of doing the last thing. And I want to just zoom in on the balloon itself. So if you remember, when you click on Alt, so hold down Alt and middle mouse button, you can actually zoom in to a particular point. So if I do that, so that might be where I want to be roughly. Okay, I'll do a fairly quick job of it. Now at the moment, it's a very large paintbrush, which for the center part is completely fine. That's actually probably what I want to do. So click on that, start painting around, and as I go across to the edge, I don't want to go too far, so I want to be fairly careful to make sure I stay within the balloon itself. Okay, that's the outside part done. Now if I zoom in a little bit more, I can drag left and right, up and down, and be a little bit more accurate. Now at the moment the paintbrush is huge. If I hold down Alt and right mouse button, I can actually change, let's just up the hardness to that, change, so left and right will change how large the paintbrush is. So if I click on that, actually what I'll do to start with is zoom back out again, and I'll just make it larger again, just to go back over, make sure I've got most of that done. Okay, rightio. So I zoom back in again, and make it a much smaller brush, a bit more easy, a bit easier to manage. Now, each of those little squares is essentially 1 pixel. So if I zoom in more, you can make it very fine. Because it's overall the image, the balloon in the image is not humongous, I probably don't need to zoom in much more than probably about that. So I want to make that part there back to colour. So drag around the edges. Now, as I go around, and also, so I'll just try and be fairly quick making rounds around the outside. Okay. I've got our properties window in the way, but that's okay. So around the outside, try and make it fairly neat without spending too much time on it. Now, there we go. Okay, so nearly done. Okay, as we go up, just make sure I get that edge bit done. Okay, So that's probably close enough for now without being too accurate. So that's made quite a nice little image there. But I might want to change the colour a little bit, change the hue of those colours there. So if I click on this little option over here, hue saturation is what I'm after. If I click on that, I can then modify the hue. So if you look at the orange, yellow, blue colours in the balloon, as I adjust left and right, I will slowly change the colours in the balloon. Right. So what I've also done is if I come down to the bottom right hand side and I untick to see the black and white mask there, I turn that off completely. You'll notice by adjusting the hue saturation, I'm actually changing not just the balloon, but the entire background. Now that can make some quite cool effects as well, but for what I wanted to do was just muck around with the balloon and have the background as black and white, so I might want to have it about there. Turn black and white back on again, and that mask will fix the rest of the surrounds and just leave the balloon as colour. So that's most of what I wanted to show you. There's one other thing. With Alt and right mouse button, now that was the brush size moving left and right. So that's fine there. But if you notice where it says hardness, at the moment diameter is 155 pixels, hardness is 100%, and it's 100% opaque. So if I go up and down, I will adjust the hardness of the brush. So obviously if there's 100%, if I want to change that to 0 for a second, we'll make the brush size just a little bit smaller so it's easier to see the difference. So 0, click there, it doesn't do anything. If I change that to, say, let's go 25%, and I click there, just one click. Well, make sure I'm on the black background there. So there's one click there at 25%. If I change it to 50%, and one single click, there's that, 75%, thereabouts, click there, and 100. Excuse me. Okay, so change it to 100 and put that in there. As you zoom in, you can see that the 100% has a very harsh edge. If you have a look across at 75%, it's a little bit softer, 25% softer again, and 50% softer again, and 25% it's very soft, so you don't actually see the circular size at all. So there's a few things that you can do. One last thing, with going backwards in Photoshop, if I hit Control Z, I will undo one bit, but sometimes if you want to, let's see, all right. If I want to go back to a particular spot, if you go to Window and then to History, you can see each of these here. So I could go back right to the beginning. So there's one, new black and white layer. This is what I first opened. I can have a look and see each of the different spots. Now, most of those brushes is when I was going through just marking out the outline of the balloon, but then when I started playing around with different layers there of visibility, so that's probably the one I wanted to end up on. But if you didn't and you wanted to go back to, well, I just want to have it as that color instead, or that color, you can go back to there. If I do something else from this point, all of those future undos will disappear. So if I do one thing, if I click on brush and let's see, just go back to here for one spot, it's changed my history. I can undo that one particular point there, but all those other ones that were previously in history are not listed anymore. So that's it for this particular part. There'll be more videos to follow as I get a chance to make some. All right, good luck, enjoy.